All right, so welcome back. So we'll continue from chapter 3. So for chapter 3, let's go back to the initial analysis, which was chapter by chapter. Okay, chapter 2, chapter 3. Now, each chapter 3, you can see that it is also very brief in terms of what it was able to bring out. But don't be discouraged by that. Most people get discouraged. No, this one is not. I don't know how to use this. It's not giving out what I need. You can do chapter by chapter analysis. That is just focus on chapter 1. Once you are done chapter 1, now go for chapter 2 analysis. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm just using this as to just understand where it's coming from. So it's better you do a chapter by chapter review to give you more information than sitting down, allowing it to just go and give you all the results for each of the chapters. Fees on equipment outlines construction operation, lease equipment, waste management detailed, covering waste management, greenhouse gas. You can see just generalized information here. You cannot use it for anything. So it's now left for you to use your own innate knowledge to remember what do you look out for in chapter 3. What do you look out for in chapter 3? Although I might want to look at my criteria, my review criteria, and I said ask for you to check. This is my review criteria for chapter 3. Check. So now let me just use it again now. Let's say as environmental regulator review the chapter 3 of this report to identify gaps and areas of improvement as compared with global best practices for an EIA report, as well as the criteria. Sorry about this one. Happens very well. The criteria below include reference to page and sections. So you can be creative with this anyhow you want. I think I'm liking Gemini. Gemini is a bit more better in terms of giving you in-depth analysis than ChatGPT. So I think Gemini, this is my first time of using Gemini, but I think I like it better. Okay, now looking at the project philosophy. Most of this project philosophy and all these criteria are from our EIA review report writing format. The description lacks a high-level philosophical statement that explicitly links the project to circular economy, e.g. target percent of waste diversion from landfill. The report clearly defines the phases. The project philosophy is rooted in a waste management hierarchy and not circular economy. So he's saying that it should be rooted on circular economy, not on the waste management hierarchy, which is avoidance, reduction, reuse. Key equipment and capacity. The findings, bulldozer trucks. The capacity, e.g., throughout in tons per hour, our MRF sorters or meters cubed per day treatment plan are not consistently specified for all major components. There is a lack of piping and instrumentation diagrams, which are standard for liquid waste treatment facility. So this is an area, facilities and waste stream. Describe the wastewater treatment process and general waste handling. But there is no mass balance table showing the flow of waste from input to recovered products versus residual waste. That is sludge from the treatment plant are not quantified, so they need to quantify the level of sludge. So this is a good one. Missing point, capacity data, hourly and daily throughput capacity for each. These are designs and diagram. Chemical inventory, utility rates, extract tables to add table facility design, capacity, and throughput. The name of the facility, the component, the design, and operating hours. These are information that is necessary. Utility and chemical operation, HSC control, evidence of current status, lacks activities but list activities but lack technical specification. Mention air emission but does not provide quantitative modeling. Okay, let's go take it step by step so that we can be able to use the information that is there. Now let us look at the project component first of all. These are the first areas we look out for in chapter 3. So evaluate the chapter 3 on project description and verify the project components are consistent across the sections of the report, and identify relevant components that was not described but necessary to necessary for the project implementation. Include reference to page and sections. I think I'll prefer to code them this way. All right. Core infrastructure, the core project components are generally consistent across the project. Okay. So this report is good. Although some sections provide more granular details than others. Core infrastructure. The primary component, transfer loading stations, material recovery facilities, residual landfills, and treatment facilities are consistently referenced in the exhaustive summary. And telescope, good. The project report identify 8 locations in Lagos across the summaries and pay location sections. Okay, consistent. The 4 phases remain uniform. All right. Identify gaps, missing but necessary components. While the report described the main waste production unit, it lacks detailed description of several auxiliary but vital components required for full project implementation. So now I'll take this as my comments. But I'll not write it full that way. The section, on project components should include discussions on vital auxiliary components required for implementation, i.e., Okay, so I'm ready to. Okay. Leachate collection and treatment. Physical. While leachate control and waste management are mentioned as activities, Chapter 3 lacks a physical description and technical specification of the leachate collection system, i.e., liner type, collection pipes, storage pumps required for residual landfill. I think this is very important. We need this information because leachate can contaminate groundwater, so there's need to understand the collection system of this leachate with respect to the line types, the collection pipes, and storage pumps. Laboratory and monitoring facility report emphasize environmental monitoring, but does not describe the physical on-site laboratory or specialized equipment, e.g. gas analyzer, so that's necessary for real-time quality control. So this is very important too. There must be specific laboratory and monitoring facilities in place. Buffer zone and green belt. The global best practice for waste fertility require designated buffer zone to minimize noise and odor from nearby receptors. Strategy does not define the physical extent of a tissue plan for the zone. Okay, this is very important too. You need to know the land budgets. Land budgets. Beyond general mention of safety system, there is no detailed description of dedicated fire water network or realized fire suppression system for the MRF, which handle high volume of combustible plastic. This is very, very important also for fire safety. I'm sure they must have missed out on this. It's good to bring that back to it. For a facility of this scale, there are 2,400 tons per day, a supervisory control and data acquisition system equivalent digital infrastructure for monitoring processing lines and weigh bridge are necessary but not discovered. But I think they might have them, but not included in this. So this should be updated. Okay. Missing component. Okay, just analyzing it more. Leachate liner spec. You might not need to write them in full, but just write them like this. Leachate liner spec, on-site laboratory, fire network, site buffer zone, and the rest of them. So this is it. This is that about project components. So now, in some sections here, they listed that they are not equipment. Mhm. So now, the capacities are not consistently specified for all major. There is a lack of piping. So this is a very, very important comment when it comes to page 3 and 29, table 3.2 and 3.3. Under the list of equipment like bulldozers, trucks, and trommels. The following are entered. So I'll just add the capacities, e.g., throughput on tons For MRS sorters, electric per day are not considered specified for all major components. That is one. There is a lack of piping and instrumentation diagram which are standard for liquid. Kindly updates. Updates. Also kindly updates. All right. Now under facility and waste streams. Let's go to the streams of waste. Section these and picture and these describe the waste management facility. There is no mass balance table. So let's talk about it in page 3-33 and page 3-34. There is no mass balance table showing the flow of waste. So updates in this section to include a mass balance table showing the flow of waste from input to recovery points versus residual waste at each facility, rate of waste management from, although this is very technical, I must confess. I might need to remove this one. If not, they will not be able to address this comment. Let me remove it, please. Let me not cause problem for them. Because it's one thing to put comments, another thing for the consultant to be able to address it. It might not have the technical capacity to calculate a mass balance. You might need to contact the manufacturer to get those information. I might not have those time for this. And it's a waste management project. Let's not create more issues. Okay. Specific chemical requirement for waste management sludge treatment, such as coagulant, are missing. Okay. This is it's a good one in terms of under raw materials and utilities. Raw materials and utilities. Specific chemical requirements for wastewater fecal sludge are missing. Another one again, utility consumption rates, menstruation water, and other. Please updates. Please updates. HSC, the report mentioned adherence to OHS measures and environmental. There is no specific critical control point matrix by phase. For example, specific safety interlocks for the internal detection systems for which it are not detailed as critical controls. Okay, we have to investigate this in case you have a section 3.8.2, table 3.1, HSE critical controls. Okay, let's add this as a comment. GHG. The report lacks a specific GHG target, which mentions why it mentions scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And why it mentions scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 are not fully accounted for in chapter 3 resource section. Let's do that also. The report identified GHG and provide scope 1 estimates. I think that's enough for me. I'm good with that. Let's not be too forward. The report is actually very good to have to get to that level. Missing data point, capacity hour, that hourly and daily throughput capacity for each MRF and TLS. Detailed process flow diagram for the wastewater and fecal sludge treatment facility. I think we need this. The following should be addressed. Let's have that as a general comment. Annual estimated volume of chemical use for waste management treatment. Okay, just add it there. Estimated daily consumption of water and peak power load for each site. I hope they'll be able to get this. Quantified daily generation rate of project-induced waste. To meet global best practice, the following table should be integrated into chapter 3. Facility design, concept and throughput, utility and chemical requirements, HSC critical control matrix, mentioning emissions but does not provide qualitative modeling data. Show the process flow but it's a block diagram rather than a technical process and ID level. All right. My chapter 4. TV is enough for us in chapter 3. Description of project environment. Now let us see what the general analysis did for us in chapter 4. Baseline data summaries for soil, whatever. Methodology defines climate change again considered. This is generalized also. Now, what are we looking at for in chapter 4? Now, let us talk to the methodology. Let's start with methodology. Evaluate the methodology employed. No way, taught me now. Employed in the baseline data acquisition as reported in chapter 4 of what? Because if the methodology is okay, the report might be okay. But if it is faulty, we might have issues from there. So evaluate the methodology employed in the baseline data acquisition as reported in chapter 4 of the report and identify gaps and areas of improvement when compared with global best practice. Like kindly provide structured each sections. This is tough, but I think if you dedicate 2 hours to it, I think you'll be able to review the report. Okay, this is what is there. Like now, it's giving us what is there. Review of previous report maps, field sampling, 2 season sampling was conducted, dry season in April, wet season in July, air quality, measurement of in situ using probable gas analyzer, stage economics. So air quality is a transition to 24 hours continuous monitoring. Hydrological, conduct hydrological modeling might not be part of our schedule. Economic baseline, implement livelihood restoration plan. Biodiversity assessment, utilize GIS-based habitat mapping. Climate change, include climate projection 20 to 50 years horizon to assess how the future sea levels rise and flooding in Lagos might impact facility integrity. I think I will go with this climate change. I don't know how many it was there before. Page 4 of 12. Section 4.3.1, climate change. Include a climate projection modeling. I don't think that we have that. Focus on historical meteorological data. Yeah, we usually use historical data. Sampling appears limited to site-specific flora and fauna without detailed habitat mapping. Use GIS-based habitat mapping and conduct specific critical habitat clearing. So the most important YCAP was used for 322 respondents. They would lack a comprehensive census of informal waste pickers. Simply because of surface and groundwater, but lack detailed groundwater flow modeling. Data is based on short-term point monitoring during field visits. Quantitative modeling, health impact assessments, laboratory application, this, okay, I can take this, but I believe for you know, yeah, no problem. Okay, this might not be what I'm looking at for based on our own review criteria. So let us go further into air quality now. Now let us go parameter by parameter. Review the air quality assessments and using methodology and results presented to 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 assess if the baseline air quality of the project area was approach. Identify gaps, areas of improvement, and enhance implementation of most application and sorts. Let's see what to bring up from this. So this for air quality, we'll do that for water, do that for soil, and then we'll see what it's. So the baseline data was collected in two short-term season using short-term G1 hour, 8 hour snapshots. Global best practices require continuous 24 hours monitoring. Parameters monitored, the report covers CO, NO, SO, PM10. Important parameters for waste processors such as volatile are mentioned in the impact section but lacks comprehensive baseline quantification. So this is a very, very huge gap. So this is a very huge gap. Important parameters. So this will be under air quality sampling. Then bring this as comment under air quality. Air dispersion modeling. I might not be able to bring that in. Odor baseline. Odor is noted as a significant concern, but lacks a quantitative order baseline. I don't know that there is a order baseline, but now we know. So this will be under air quality sampling too. I don't know that order have its own in yeah, okay. Conduct olfactory testing or structure sniffing tests. Where around National Hospital. Yeah. Or where? Testing for structured sniff is the environment house tests. That's brand building. Okay, where are you? Which sensitive receptors? Next general coordinate but does not explicitly map high sensitive receptors. Yeah, this is very, we need to provide a map showing the distance of this facility from the emission source at such sites. Okay. So this is very important also. There's two hospital clinic showing the distance of this facility from these facilities, which are school, hospitals, and clinic, information storage and research. Contextualize PM10 levels. If PM10 levels are near the limit, the report should infer the contribution of existing open dumping and burning at Solus 3 versus the post-project enclosed processing. The current interpretation states that most monitor parameters were within standard. To enhance this for regulatory rigor, so impact on microclimate inference should be made on how the high relative humidity in Lagos affect the deposition of particulate matter and the persistence of odor in the vicinity. So this is now with respect to high relative humidity. There is need to discuss those results on how high relative humidity in Lagos affect the position of particulate matter and the persistence of odor in the vicinity. The inference must move beyond site-specific to cumulative, addressing how the project emission interacts with existing heavy regular flow and industrial activities in the world. Cumulative impacts, cumulative impact inference. Compliance with IFCPS 3. Reference methodology chapter equality is in okay, all the whole sections that needs. Okay, so I think we are good with air quality. Now let's go to groundwater. So I might just copy out what I said about, can say copy prompts, and just review the uh, water quality assessments, water. I'll change air to water. So let's see what will bring up with water. Water is on page. Okay, this is where the water is, so I can go to reference it later on. Uh, okay. So the groundwater was sampled at 8 locations, hand-dug wells and borehole across site like Ekere, Ekiti, Ekiti, Solus 3. So water was only sampled, focused on nearby bodies. Institute lab, pH, and chemical quality were recorded using calorimeters, followed by laboratory analysis. Generally, the reports captured dry and wet. Hydrological modeling, implement groundwater flow, contamination flow modeling. This is very important, but I don't think we added it to their term of reference, so we might not be asking for it now. It might not be easy for them to go back to the field to get it. Influence specific parameters. Baseline analysis focus on general parameters. Include baseline testing for emerging contaminants. Common in landfill literature that this are supposed to be in our term of reference, but that was not there. Upstream, downstream monitoring. Surface water sampling is mentioned, but not clearly differentiated by flow direction. Clearly define control upstream and impact downstream sampling points for each site to isolate project-induced changes from. I think we can take this. Surface water sampling is mentioned, but not clearly differentiated by flow direction. There's need to have differentiation into upstream, downstream. Clear definition into upstream, downstream points. Microbiological depth. Microbiological will listing for monitoring plan. Express specific data to include specific pathogens count. Tracker and validate as well. Okay, this is chapter 6. So this is chapter 6. Leachate sensitivity. The report should infer that aquifer vulnerability based on recorded soil porosity and groundwater levels. The report should infer the aquifer vulnerability, okay, based on the recorded soil porosity and groundwater levels, e.g., identifying shallow water tables in Lagos as high sensitive zones. This is very, very important as part of the baseline. Areas of the soil levels are highly porous and groundwater levels are low, which indicate that the aquifer is vulnerable. to to influence or inference of leachate. Existing pollution interaction inference must be made on how current open dump sites have already influenced the baseline groundwater chemistry, particularly regarding heavy metal consumption compared to control sites. This should be part of the discussion of results of the groundwater that we'll need to cross-check with. Results for nitrate and phosphate should be analyzed in the context of seasonal runoff. Compliance with global best practices, standardized benchmark. Baseline water quality should include a column comparing results directly against World Health Organization drinking water. This is for we need to confirm if it was not there before. So that is that. So what else I might look out for? You might copy the same and do for soil. Soil quality, soil in the area. So we can try different areas. So this for soil. Evaluation of the soil can say 0.3 to 15, 15 to 30 to season laboratory. Specific contaminated screening include baseline screening for total petroleum, which are common on site handling maintenance vehicles. So there are some parameters that were not studied. Sampling points are listed by coordinate but lack detailed in sampling site history, so as to know what the site is used for, the land use. So this is very important. Land use classification for evaluation of the soil. So includes various comments on this. All right. Analysis focus on physical properties, chemical properties, and okay. Sampling points are listed by coordinates but lack site history. This will help to differentiate virgin soil and soil impacted by dump signatures. This would help to include a correct correlational analysis. Vertical sampling stops at 30 centimeter. Okay. The current interpretation shows that most parameters fall within typical ranges. To enhance this, heavy metal mobility interference, instead of specific values, infer the bioavailability of heavy metals in the acidic soil conditions often found in Lagos, like metals like lead and cadmium are more mobile and pose higher risk to groundwater. So these are areas in which we should look out for in discussion of results. The cation exchange capacity inference use the CEC result to infer the soil's ability to act as a natural buffer against potential leachate spills. Low CEC soils are likely, aside like Irikiti, may require more robust engineering liners. So these are very, very important. These are very important in describing the inference results. This will help to even influence the design of the engineering landfill because areas that has low cation exchange capacity will require more robust engineering liners against areas that has higher levels of CEC. So, hold on. So we have different spatial mapping for enhanced results sections by. So to enhance the results section by including soil quality heat maps using GIS for key pollutants like lead and cadmium to visually identify hotspots of existing contamination before project activity begin. So this is very good. I don't know if this can be done. Spatial mapping, you can use GIS to, but I don't think they may have time to go back to the lab. Let's to the field. So let's not add that as a comment. Table 4.7 should include a column for the Dutch soil standard or USEPA regional screening levels for industrial land use, as FMA lacks specific quantitative soil cleanup limit. Yeah, you can see AI knows that we don't even have a limit for soil. So they can use United States EPA because we have gaps when it comes to that area. Use this baseline result to explicitly set emission targets for the commissioning phase. Okay, so these are some information there. I will not want to put in too much so that it will be easy to address. So socioeconomic area is another area that is very, very important. So I'll just skip to the socioeconomic part now. Evaluate and analyze. I'm really tired. I cannot spell analyze again. The socio-economic section of chapter 4 and with international best practice, identify areas of improvement, and suggest additions. Identify gaps and inconsistencies. Write information to enhance the quality of the section. Yeah, let us see that what is the economic part of the reports. We are still on Gemini. I think it's on ChatGPT. It would have said that we have used your time, but Gemini, I think Gemini is undervalued. Now for this is the page. So all these comments are on this page. Why the use of 322 correspondent focus with visionary key information interviews. Why the use of computer assisted personnel interviewing? CAPI is good. It's a very good one. It's not. This is use of an app to do interview rather than just photocopying questionnaire and sharing. The sample size 322 may be statistically underrepresented for a project cutting across four major local government areas, Badagry, Ikeja, and Limosho, the combined population in the millions. So there is no explicit mention of area of influence, demarcation methodology, how the specific methodology are selected. Let's take this. The sample size may be statistically, so allows them to justify samples. Kindly justify the sample size of 322 considering considering that the project cuts across four major local government areas, the combined population in millions. Cool. Specify, so this is another good one too. Specify, there's no specific mention of the area of influence. How the specific host communities were selected relative to the project site. The report acknowledged that waste sorters and scavengers and at this and this are concerned about the livelihood being affected by a new project, transfer loading station. The national best practice requires a detailed livelihood restoration plan when a project impact informal workers' access to resources. This might need to be a condition for approval. The report identifies this group as vulnerable, but do not provide quantitative census of how many scavengers currently operate at the site, which is important as okay. This should be part of population. The report identifies scavengers groups as vulnerable, does not provide conditions of how many scavengers currently operate in the site. So the report identifies this group as vulnerable, but does not provide. Okay, I've added this one already. So a dedicated section or appendix containing scavengers integration strategy. I think this might be a condition for approval. Vulnerable groups and general rules in section 4.7.2. The report provides a high-level overview of gender roles, noting male dominance in waste handling. There is no specific data on other vulnerable groups, such as elderly, child-headed household, or person living with disability. I need to add this under vulnerable, and so this other part there. That's under vulnerable groups and gender roles. No specific data on this. We need to upload this. Gender analysis should move beyond roles to gender-based risk. For instance, the influx of a 500-person workforce increased the risk of sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment, which is briefly mentioned in the ESMP, but lacks baseline safety perception survey, chapter 4. So this is very important. You need to add this a baseline of the SEA risk. Why chapter 5 identify breeding of diseases, vectors of moderate risk. Chapter 4 lacks a specific baseline on respiratory health or skin disease among current job site workers, which would be primary health care indicators for this project type. Include a community health impact assessment baseline that capture current rate of malaria, diarrhea, respiratory tract infection, and indeed for 500 days of the site. Stakeholder consultation. The report lacks a stakeholder engagement plan that outlines future engagement. Include a grievance redress mechanism. These are areas for employment, explicit local content policy defining jobs reserved for specific roles, with assessment. So these are some key informations with regards to chapter 4. So next will be chapter 5 and chapter 6 and chapter 7.